So the Eride 3.0 just dropped. As a MX5 rider myself, I'm very interested in what kind of upgrade there is. So I quantified all the information that's released on the Eride's website and also released by Saronster himself, put them together in like a spreadsheet format so it's easier to understand and do direct comparisons. I'm giving away more than $1,700 worth of prizes. First place is a $1,000 electric skateboard, second place is a $500 electric scooter, and third place is a $200 high-speed full-face helmet. Be a subscriber and make a comment down below between September and November of 2024. May the odds be ever in your favor. So the first thing is that the Eride 3.0 is a direct competitor to the MX5. A lot of the smaller stuff like the brake pads and stuff like that is now upgraded to match MX5, but there are some things that stands out, and also MX5 still stands on its own, with the peak power of the Eride 3.0 being 15 kilowatt and the Eride 2.0 being 12 kilowatt and the Talaria MX5 Pro being 13.5 kilowatts. In my opinion, there isn't too much of a difference, so if you already have the MX5 Pro, there's no reason for you to upgrade. The acceleration is virtually the same. You're like fraction of a second faster if you're on the Eride 3.0. The other thing to note is the weight. The Talaria MX5 weighs at 165 pounds, which most people say it's heavy, but the Eride 3.0 it's also heavier now at 167 pounds. The charge time to 90% for the Eride 3.0 is now 3.5 hours. Remember, the last 10 to 20% of the battery charging is very slow. It's almost as slow as the first 90%. So what you're looking here is really, 4.5 hours to 5 hours of charging to 100%, while the Talaria MX5 Pro charges to 100% in about 2.5 hours and charges to 90% in about 2 hours. So charging speed for Talaria is still super fast, and the price is $4,700, which is $300 cheaper. I'll get to that in a little bit, but I still do think Eride 3.0 wins here, which is the battery capacity. The battery capacity comes in at 50 amp hours for the Eride 3.0, while Talaria MX5 comes in at 40 amp hours. Most of the weight increase for the Eride 3.0 comes from the batteries, because the batteries are really heavy, and then the batteries are increased by 25%, so majority of the Eride 3.0 weight actually comes in from the battery size increase. However, Talaria MX5 Pro, despite being roughly the same at 165 pounds versus 167 pounds, it has 25% less battery. There's a whole 10 amp hours of battery missing, and it is still roughly the same weight as the Eride 3.0. You can tell Eride here did a lot of weight shavings off of their vehicle other than the battery, right? So that's what I really want to commend on, is that it's roughly the same weight, but you get so much more battery capacity out of the Eride 3.0 for only $300 more. The increase in terms of cells, even if you just want to buy the extra battery cells alone, I don't think you can buy 10 amp hours of batteries for just $300 alone. So I think this is like the best part of the MX5 versus the Eride 3.0 comparison, why that $300 is super worth it. Next, what I want to talk about is voltage. Notice that all three bikes here have the same voltage, and top speed is usually controlled by voltage. So since you have 72 volts here, the top speed of each bike is going to be roughly the same. What the difference here is the torque, and the torque is kind of shown here by peak power. Eride 3.0 has 15 kilowatts of power, so that is going to be just a little bit torqueier. So if you have the MX5, if you are concerned which one has the higher top speed, you just look at the voltage. Every single one of them has 72 voltage, so theoretically they all should fall within the same top speed range. That is true here when you look at the top speed. Eride 3.0 has 62 miles listed, Eride 2.0 has 60 miles per hour listed, and Talaria MX5 Pro, I think Talaria Boys has tested it to like 61-62 miles per hour. So you're going to be looking at roughly the same top speed. It's just the Eride 3.0 is just going to be ever slightly more torqueier than the Talaria MX5 Pro. Eride 3.0 is going to have the better brakes now, since it's upgraded its braking system to a DOT4 system, just like the Talaria MX5 Pro, while the Eride 2.0 uses a cheaper brake system. If you're looking at just the light e-bikes under $5,000, MX5 Pro and the Eride 3.0 go head to head. If I'm buying a new bike today, I will go for the Eride 3.0. The increase in performance for the extra $300 is immensely worth it, because all the problems with the Eride 2.0 being, like the parts are for bicycles and all that stuff has been upgraded, which I'll go over in the next slide. And then on top of that, they match the same weight of the Talaria MX5 Pro by also providing an extra 25% increase in battery and improvement in terms of acceleration. So on paper, it's that extra $300 is super worth it. You can't even buy the raw materials for the batteries for that extra $300 if you wanted to. So yeah, go. I would say if you don't have a bike and you're trying to get a bike, get the Eride 3.0. If you already have the MX5, then the upgrade to Eride 3.0 is not worth it. But you could still consider the upgrade to the Eride SR, which is kind of worth it to me. Let's go over to the next slide. This is the same spreadsheet with the Eride SR added to the very end. What I want to highlight here is the peak power. The peak power is now increased to 25 kilowatts, and that is almost double everything that you see here on the map, right? But however, what you want to consider is that this is now a much heavier bike at 183 pounds, and the charge to 90% is also much longer at 3.5 hours. If quick charging is a concern to you, then Talaria MX5 Pro is still the best quick charger in this bunch. Price is $5,700. It is a whole $1,000 more than the MX5 Pro and about $700 more than the Eride 3.0. What do you get for this incremental increase in dollar amount, right? If you're upgrading from an MX5 Pro, you're increasing your battery capacity from 40 amp hours to 50 amp hours with that $1,000. And then, but your dollars don't go up as much if you're upgrading from an Eride 3.0. Eride 3.0 has the same battery system at 50 amp hours. So that $700 has to go into something else. But if you look at your voltage across all systems here, across all bikes here, it's all 72 volts. So the top speed is going to be roughly the same for every single bike here. What the differentiator here is just the peak power. The peak power is basically torque at this point, and you're going to get an immense amount of torque coming from that 25 kilowatt motor. So if you're getting a new bike, you're spending $700 more than the Eride 3.0 and about $1,000 more than the Talaria. Just know that you are actually just paying for a bigger, faster motor. If you're comparing the incremental difference between the Eride 3.0 and the Eride SR, the only difference is a bigger motor. The battery is exactly the same. You're paying essentially $700 for bigger and beefier motors with no increase in top speed. But then again, the frame is different, everything else is different. But if you just want to look at it from a performance standpoint, on paper, that is the only thing different. Of course, like again, the frame is different, it's stronger and it looks different than everything else. And it's a little bit heavier. So if you want to stay looking like a bicycle, if you want to stay in the light e-bike format and avoid attention from local police, I would say Eride 3.0 is a really good bargain. Of course, Eride SR is when you want that pure power at 25 kilowatts for that extra $700 or $1,000 more. If you were to upgrade to the 98 volt system of the Altus Sigma, I don't have the Altus Sigma listed in here because it is a brand new company and brand new brand. No one has ever owned one of these vehicles before. I cannot speak to the quality. If you have like $5,500 to burn, just get the Eride SR. That is like the bike to get because there is history. There's tremendous amount of history and good customer service coming from Eride, and this bike go head to head with that. Unless your top concern is to go above 60 miles per hour on a small bike like this, I would say just go with the Eride SR. Next point I want to talk about is the exact upgrades that's coming for the Eride 3.0. You get larger brake pads, you get larger brake calipers, you get a 1-inch riser stem mount. This is an upgrade that I'm actually considering for my MX5 Pro. So I think this coming by default is super good. And there's also like a self-cleaning pulley. If you ever go into dirt area, dirt falls out of the pulley. I think that is extremely smart as well, something that I would like for my bike. So there's something to consider. There's also a reverse button. Sometimes I would like to reverse out of tight spots, so I think this is definitely a welcome addition. And Eride 3.0 has these large LED screens. Yes, they might get broken easily, but it's just so much easier and nicer to see when you look down to see your telemetry data, right? And then there's dual sport tires. These tires look extremely similar to the Shinko 241s, which are the tires I actually wanted to switch to. This is like another extra $100 and maybe like 1 to 2 hours of you actually changing the tires for your bike. And now these come by default, which is pretty nice. There's also a new rear linkage that increases rider height, so that's pretty good as well. And there's actually an off button for lights, which is also standard on the MX5. So overall, if you're considering the Eride 3.0 against the MX5, all these little things, upgrades, brings the Eride bike to Talaria's level. And then for the extra $300, it goes above and beyond by giving you 10 amp hours or 25% more battery and a slightly higher peak power motor. So if you're buying a bike and $300, you can shell out. So if you're buying an e-bike right now and you can afford to pay that extra $300, definitely get the Eride 3.0. If you're still here right now, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I'm running a giveaway right now, giving away $1,700 in terms of free gifts. The first one is a $1,000 electric skateboard. The second one is a $2,000. The second one is a $500 electric scooter, and the third prize is a $200 electric e-bike helmet. So be sure to be subscribed and make a comment down below to enter, and winner will be announced at the end of November. Thank you so much and good luck.